Hey there everyone, welcome to Creations by Claire. I'm super excited to finally share this tutorial on my upcycled birdhouse cabinet created with shabby chic French Provincial in mind, using baroque rococo trimmings and floral clay castings. So let's get started. I'm cleaning the cabinet with baby wipes. The cabinet is made out of particle wood, so I don't want to get it too wet. The sticker, I'm going to also have to use some Goo Gone gel spray to remove this residue. I will be painting the outside and inside with chalk paint. The name is Plaster. You can tell the age of this cabinet or the age of the paint, the yellowish tint, and against the new color Plaster paint. I tried to organize this video in sections from start to end for the different applications so that it could make sense. But in truth, I didn't have a finished plan as I was creating this upcycle, so you may see completion of some parts and unfinished in next. Painted 3 or 4 paint color swatches on the roof because I couldn't decide which color I wanted to use. I'm using moss, chalk paint, celery, chalk paint, agave, chalk paint, and lastly plaster. So I just continued touching up some uncompleted parts with the plaster, and by the time I was finished I decided to go with agave. This birdhouse cabinet is 20 inches tall by 6 by 5.5, and it's made out of particle wood. I purchased these 2 birdhouse cabinets at Goodwill for $4.99 a piece. I couldn't believe my luck finding these, but I'm so happy and thrilled to be working on these. So I decided to go with the Agave Chalk Paint by Waverly. It was much brighter than the celery and the moss. It was a brand new bottle, so I have to keep stirring it. So here I'm just applying the agave on the other side of the house. So now I'm going to start on making the clay and resin trimmings for the roof line. And here is a redesign mold, and I decided not to use. I decided to use this mold from Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description for this one. I really like this one little trim below the bubbles. So I'll need to make probably 6 to 8 for each side of the roof. And I'll be using DAZ airdry clay. We'll be using wood glue to apply these clay trimmings fresh off the mold. It's not going to be necessary for me to pre-paint before I glue because I'll be applying several layers of paint. Here I'm making more clay castings for the other side of the roof. So I'm cutting off that little edge of the excess of the trimming and gluing on with the wood glue on the edges. Sometimes I put the glue directly on the wood and sometimes directly on the clay. But since these trimmings were a little bit long, I went ahead and applied it on the wood. Just holding that trimming is, it's a little balancing act. So it made it easier to apply it directly on the wood. For the front of the and the steepest part of the birdhouse, I'm going to be using KHKD resin. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, and this is so the mold or the castings is, if in case it gets knocked around, it won't break as easy. Mold is from IOD. It's called Dainty Flourishes. Poured equal parts of the hardener and the epoxy, A and B, into those little white measuring cups, and then mixed together in this white styrofoam cup for a few minutes. And I also used the hot glue gun on a spot where I wanted to stop the flow of the trimming. This was the most challenging and fun part, coming up with the design for the front and the side of the birdhouse. I refer to several Pinterest designs for inspiration, and of course use my own ideas. So I'm using this ruler and pencil and just trying to decide the width and the height of the windows. And I just pictured probably 4 windows, probably I think they're like 2 inches, 1.5 inches wide, maybe 2 inches tall. And I'm going to be using Das airdry clay and a mix of the Regal trimmings, molds, and the Amazon molds to make the window and the door designs. So this is the white one is the Amazon with the bubbles. That one's kind of cute. I like to use that. And the same trimming that I used on the roof line, I'm using it to shape the windows just so it could kind of tie in together. Though I did not use it exclusively for everything, but I did want it to hopefully have it tie in with the roof line by using the same mold. For the top of the windows and the door, I'm using Regal trimmings, this kind of leaf and uh, floral design. I thought that give it a little bit more elegance. I will be applying or gluing on using wood glue the castings almost right away with wood glue, and I will not pre-paint it because I will actually putting a couple layers of paint, and this also helps it the clay dry flatter if you glue it on right away, so it won't try to twist and crack as it's drying. It'll do it on the object that you have it glued on. Here's the resin castings. I'm going on the roof lines in the front of the birdhouse. Really like the designs of the Dainty Flourishes for this. And some were too long, and those were the ones that I either cut off before I glued on, or I made them shorter or smaller. I love this Dainty Flourishes so much. I've been wanting to use more and more of it on the homes and birdhouses and houses that I like to decorate. If you look at my previous YouTube videos, but it's I'm not really sure if it's baroque or rococo. They're two artistic architectural styles that they're related, but they have distinctive characters. I'm not sure which one it is from this Dainty Flourishes, but I believe baroque emerged in the 17th century and is more grander, dramatic, and more ornamental, while rococo they developed it in 18th century, and it's a lighter, more playful detail, decorative detail. I added one window to the bottom to help tie in to the front. I use the same trimmings as the front, and the lovely baroque castings on the side. And I will also add a rosette from the Juliette Mould in between those trimmings. Here I'm using the Juliette IOD mold. I did measure a little bit before to ensure it would fit, though I am cutting it. I'm trimming off a few of the leaves. I could have left it overlapping, but I said no, just let me let it look cleaner and just kind of stand out on its own in between the Dainty Flourishes trimmings. I painted the birdhouse with pink cloud chalk paint. I thought this is what I wanted for the base color. But as you're going to see, I will paint halfway. But then I did go ahead and continue to paint the whole front with pink cloud. But it just was looking like a more peach kind of with pink. So I'm painting here the resin on front with the plaster, and just to taking another look to see how it ties in with the pink cloud. And I'm still not liking it, but I'm taking a look, giving it a chance to let it sink in, let the color sink into my eyes and see if I like it. And no, I'm not going to go with pink cloud. I switched over to Ballet slipper chalk paint, giving it a good stir. And I'm going to go with pink Ballet slipper. Well, there's not a word of pink in the color. It's called Ballet slipper, but it's a very pretty pink. And right away, I like this immensely better than the pink cloud. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you don't mind which color you would have gone with. Okay, I do like the ballet slipper. I've started painting the side of the birdhouse. So this is the winner. So I decided to go ahead and paint directly on top of the trimmings with the ballet slipper. And I'm sorry, I did not record how I made this little fence for the other side of the birdhouse. I just hand sculptured these pieces into a little fence. And again, I made another small window at the same trimmings as the other side and in the front to tie it all in. And also use this mold, this blue mold. Came in a pack about 6 types of bricks purchased from Amazon. The second side of the birdhouse is somewhat similar to the other side. The only difference I did add that the fence, as you see, and the different florets. I'll be using the Dainty Flourishes and Juliette molds for the castings. And this little plastic card came in very handy in holding and transferring the clay. I don't know, I feel like I'm going to damage the clay as I move it around. It's also useful to hold while painting. I'm also painting over the clay castings with the ballet slipper. I will be applying other coats of wax and acrylic paint, as you'll see in the tutorial. And I'm hoping it will bring in some of the pink through the other layers. I'm painting the steeple with this ballet slipper, also to help tie in the pink to the all the way to the top. I'm going to paint with plaster chalk paint, just the castings, and this will kind of make the castings pop. Now I'm applying a clear wax, and I'm gonna apply it all over the birdhouse. And then after this, I'll be applying an antique wax or darker black wax. And this clear wax helps remove any excess of the wax much easier. And then you can kind of adjust the tone or the color, the darkness of the wax by having this clear wax underneath. And I missed a spot underneath the door. I added a little casting there. Now the inside of the birdhouse, the inner door is ballet slipper. So I'm painting that. I gave it 2 coats of paint. The inside of the shelves, I'm using IOD Chalk Paint. I made another casting, clay casting, and added to the roof. It looked like it needed just a little bit more ornation. And this is from the Amazon mold. So I'm making more clay castings to represent a door, and it's very similar to the one on the front. And I applied glued on the trimmings here, but I went all the way down to the bottom, and I did cut off like about a half an inch because the door wouldn't close. It was just too long. On the inside, I wasn't too sure what to make, but I decided to go ahead and make like a framed art of a rose. This is a napkin that I purchased either from Napkin World or Decoupage World. I painted a square of white plaster there to brighten the napkin. Try to get it to the size. And then made a frame out of the Amazon mold. I applied Mod Podge on this white square. and then the napkin, and then I'm going to apply a second coat to seal it. These are castings made from the Dainty Flourishes. I'm using a dark wax. No, it's a dark wax by Dixie Belle on this one side. And when I first put it on, I said, oh my gosh, this is so dark. But I kept working at it. And if you see, I did, playing around, I did put some gold metallic, it's called pure gold metallic acrylic by Folk Art. I applied it here on some of the flourishes at the bottom, and I kind of like it. But as you can see, it's kind of dark. But I kept working at it. You'll see how it comes out. I hope you like it. I did. So here's the pure gold metallic paint I'm applying to the rosette, and I really love it now. This is making the rosette pop and look more elegant and regal. And I tell you, it's so relaxing applying this gold. I don't know how to describe the feeling, but I believe you crafters out there know the feeling applying this beautiful gold color. So smooth. The top flourish on top, applying the gold, and I'm just lightly painting the edges and the ridges of the clay. I'm not aiming to make it solid gold, and I did rub off with the paper towel any excess. If it was too much shine, I'm just rubbing it off. I want it to be a hint of gold, but it has to look worn. That's the look I was going for. I mean, to show that it was there. It was regal and gold and shiny at one time, but now with the weather and the sun and the age, it's worn off gently. So that's why I rub it off. So on the other side, I'm using antique wax by Art Minds. This one's not as dark as the black that I used on the other side. And I just love how it looks on the brick. Apply it and rub it off with the towel. It looks really, really nice. I did apply a little bit more wax because I did take off, I felt I took off too much. And as you rub off, I did rub off some onto the sides, to the side of the window, and that's fine. That's all part of the look I was trying to get. And I just love how the little fence came out. I'm glad I made the little lines to make it look like wood, and because they stood out very well after rubbing the wax off. So I'm applying the antique wax now on the flourishes up above the windows, and I just love how it gets into the crack and you rub it off with the towel and leaves the darkness in between the layers of the clay. So beautiful. These clay castings by IOD. So makes some beautiful details. And the roses, oh my gosh, so beautiful. Look at that dark wax. Oh, it looks so ugly right now. Just wait. Very beautiful. Now applying the antique wax on the roof, and I'm I was trying to be careful and not to get it on the green, and then after a while you can see I just painted darkened the green, or it's called agave, is the chalk paint. So I also want to darken the agave, so you'll see me later on just cover the whole thing with the wax and then rub it off. But look at those, look at that detail that the wax brings out. So beautiful. So calming to paint this and rub it off. And I don't think I mentioned, but I'm using a small brush that's got a square, flat, about a quarter of an inch wide. These are old brushes, so I probably unintentionally use it for almost everything, but they work very well. So here's the roof line too, just applying it to the resin. It goes on really nice too. And if you can see, I did apply some gold, pure gold, on the front there, and which is okay. It kind of softens the look is more softer with the gold underneath the wax. Also, I like to point out that these resin and clay castings, they are very strong. The wood glue that I used to apply it, they did not bulge as I was rubbing off the antique wax. It's very strongly glued on the birdhouse. So don't be afraid, and rubbing it's almost as hard as you can. They hold up very well. I couldn't believe how strong it is. I don't think I've ever rubbed so hard on prior projects. I'm working on the front door, applying the antique wax. Now applying the antique wax to the inner door of the birdhouse around the castings. What I did notice after I started working, I forgot to paint the castings in pink, but that's okay. It'll come out in a slightly different tone. Here's where I found out how strong these castings, clay castings, are glued on. I had left this a couple of days with the antique wax and it was just too dark. I applied clear wax over it and was able to rub off what to the point what I liked. So here's the pure gold acrylic paint on the top, on the front of the house, and I'm applying and then I'm rubbing off a little bit. It's just the tone was a little bit too gold, and I do want it to look a little worn, like if it's been standing, this building standing for ages. Here's the side. I'm applying the gold on the side with the brick and a fence. Applying it to the flourishes first. And just lightly brushing it on. I'm not wanting a full coverage. Then rubbing it back off. And the beautiful Juliette Rose rosettes. And here using my napkin that has the residual wax, rubbing it on the sides to make it look discolored and worn on the ends, and then around the castings also, bringing it, applying it and rubbing it off, trying to make it just look as natural as I can. The worn look. In this section, we'll be decoupaging the shelf bottoms and making this little furniture, or this little two mirrors and a clock. And these are actually little Barbie toys that I had one of our collections of Barbie houses, and just rolled out the clay and traced around and cut it out just as close as I could. I didn't make it exact to the pattern of the mirror, and then picked it up and kind of wet my finger on the and just smoothed it out the edges. And now I'm applying the plaster paint. I'm just going to paint the front and let it dry. Now I'm applying pure gold acrylic paint around the rim of the frame and the clock to try. I'm trying to get them to look like a little mirror. And I did take one of my clay tools and kind of made a little curls, little swirls on the clay while the clay had not was still moist. And in the middle of this clock, I will put the what do you call it? The little handles of a clock, the hands of a clock. Later on with the Pashka paint. So I found this shiny paper at Michael's. So happy uh, to find mirror-like paper, and just measuring and cutting it to size. So I applied wood glue to glue the mirror paper, and here I am just kind of rubbing in, making sure it's adhering very well. The corners look like it was slightly curling up just a little, so that's why I'm kind of rubbing it in with the paper towel. And here on just the edges, I'm applying Mod Podge to seal and protect it. And you can see I drew the little hands of the clock. Now the mirrors in the clock are ready to be applied to inside the shelves. Applying the wood glue, spreading it with my little stick. And kind of I had to adjust it a couple of times. It didn't do any measuring. I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want it to be. And you'll see in a little bit, I also I made those little strips of clay castings to probably represent a little shelf underneath the mirror and clock. There I'm applying the wood glue to the little strip of clay, and that's going to be the little shelf or decor trimmings underneath the mirrors. This birdhouse could be used for as a dollhouse, or it could be used just to display your tchotchkes, your pretty figurines, anything that you may want to put in here. It could serve both purposes, I think. Now I'm applying this tissue paper by Redesign. One is called Wash Damask, and the other one is Rustic Patina. The one with the more green is the Rustic Patina. And I wanted it to kind of look like rugs sitting inside this birdhouse. And That's why I picked this type of pattern. And of course, because of the design, the elegant baroque designs, I'm applying Mod Podge on first one half of the tissue paper and then applying the second half, and then using that piece of plastic to try to flatten it out as best I can in that little space provided. And after this is Mod Podge dries on this first layer, I'm going to apply a second coat to seal it. The tissue paper was just a little long, so I filed it down, and you need to go into rub it off in one direction with this sandpaper. I'm going to add a wood base to this birdhouse with legs, with these knobby legs. I had cut these. These were like originally around 6 inches long, and I cut them down to probably 2 inches, and painting them with Plaster chalk paint. And I'm going to give them like 2 coats and apply some antique wax. I don't think I'm going to glue down this birdhouse. I'm just going to leave it just to be put on this base, be used to put on this base or not. On the entire birdhouse and the inner door, I will be applying the Minwax. It's a polycrylic water-based clear top coat. Here's my completed upcycle to a shabby chic birdhouse, or shabby chic French provincial birdhouse cabinet. I hope you're inspired by this upcycle.